My name is Rachel, and I'm 29 years old. I walked into my parents' home to pick up my daughters and heard something that made my heart stop. My mother was saying, Amanda's children eat the good food first, and Rachel's girls can have whatever's left over. My two daughters, Lily and Emma, were sitting on the floor in the hallway. They watched their cousins finish eating pizza and chicken wings at the dining table. My sister Amanda laughed and told my bobbies, "You should get used to waiting. That's just how things work for kids like you." My dad nodded and said, "Some children get the best, and others learn to be grateful for scraps." I didn't argue or yell. I took my girls' hands and walked out, but what happened next made my whole family fall apart. Before you hear the rest, tell me where you're watching from today. Write your city in the comments and click that like button if your family ever made you feel small. What I found out changed everything. Let me tell you how this whole mess started. For 9 years, I've been the person my family calls when they need money. It began when I was just 20 years old. I got my first good job at a store, and my mom asked me to help pay for groceries. Just $20 here, maybe $30 there. It seemed normal to help out, but then something changed. As I got better jobs and made more money, my family asked for more and more. I didn't see it happening. I just thought I was being a good daughter and sister. When I got married to David and had my girls, the requests got bigger. My parents would call and say they needed help with important things. "Rachel, honey, your father's car broke down and we can't fix it. Can you help?" That was $800. "Rachel, we need to fix the toilet and the sink. The plumber costs so much." That was $600. "Rachel, your sister needs money for her kids' school supplies and new shoes. She's trying her best." That was $400. Every time they asked, I said yes. I loved them, and helping family felt like the right thing to do. But I never noticed how the money kept growing. My better jobs meant bigger requests. What I didn't keep track of was how much everything added up. The pattern was sneaky and slow. Whenever I needed help, my family was always too busy. When David left me and I needed someone to watch the girls while I worked extra hours, my mom said she had other plans. When I moved to a smaller apartment after the divorce and needed help carrying boxes, my dad said his back hurt. When I asked Amanda to babysit just once so I could go to a job interview, she said her schedule was packed. But when they needed money, my phone would ring right away. And I always answered. I always sent what they asked for. David tried to warn me before he left. "Rachel, when's the last time your family did something nice for you without asking for money first?" But I told him he didn't understand. "Families show love in different ways," I would say. "Not everyone is good with words and hugs." What I couldn't see was the bigger picture. David noticed things I missed. The way conversations would stop when I entered the room. The strange looks when I talked about my divorce. The questions about whether my girls would grow up okay without a father. I missed all of it because I was busy trying to be the perfect daughter. The one who always helped. The one who made enough money to save everyone else. The day everything broke started like any normal Thursday. I had to work late because my boss needed help with a big project. I called my mom and asked if she could watch Lily and Emma for a few extra hours. She said yes, which should have felt wrong. Mom never volunteered to spend extra time with my daughters. She always had excuses. When I got to their house at 7 o'clock, I heard kids laughing inside. But the sounds were separated. Some kids sounded happy in one room and other kids sounded quiet somewhere else. I opened the door with my key and saw something that made me feel sick. Amanda's two boys, Jake and Ryan, sat at the big table with full plates. They had pizza, chicken wings, French fries, and tall glasses of soda. My girls sat on the hallway floor near the kitchen door. They were sharing one peanut butter sandwich and looking at their cousins eat the good food. "Oh, good, you're finally here," my mother said without looking at me. She was busy getting more pizza for Jake. I looked around slowly. Amanda sat at the table scrolling on her phone while her boys ate seconds and thirds. My dad sat in his chair watching television with a full plate. The difference was clear as day. Some kids were being fed like they mattered. Other kids were being given just enough to stop them from complaining. "Lily, Emma, how was your day?" I asked, getting down on the floor with them. "It was okay," Lily said quietly. She's 10 years old and already learning to hide her feelings. "Did you have fun playing with Jake and Ryan?" Emma, who is 7 and hasn't learned to lie yet, shook her head no. "They played the fun games upstairs without us." I looked around again, seeing things I had somehow missed before. The way my daughters automatically stayed away from the main family activities. The way Amanda's boys acted like this house belonged to them while my girls acted like nervous visitors. "What did everyone eat for dinner?" I asked, knowing the answer already. "Grandma made pizza and chicken," Jake said proudly. "It was really yummy," Ryan added with sauce on his face. "And what did you two eat?" I looked at my girls. "Sandwiches," Emma said simply. "Grandma said there wasn't enough pizza for us too." I looked at the kitchen counter. 3 whole pizza boxes sat there, still half full, enough food to feed 10 people. "Actually, let me heat up some pizza for you," I said, standing up. "Oh, Rachel, they're fine," my mother said quickly. "Kids don't need to eat so much. They said they weren't hungry anyway." But I knew my children. Emma was always hungry after school, and Lily never turned down pizza, especially not Grandma's pizza, unless something was very wrong. "I'm going to make them real plates anyway," I said, walking toward the kitchen. "There's really no point in making a mess with more dishes," Amanda said without looking away from her phone. "They already ate. Kids don't need huge meals every single time." She said kids, not your daughters or Lily and Emma, just kids who apparently didn't deserve the same food as her boys. I heated up 4 slices of pizza and watched my daughters' faces light up. That look told me they had been truly hungry, not just wanting a snack but really needing food. While they ate, I tried to understand what really happened today. "So what did you all do after school?" I asked in a normal voice. "We mostly watched them play," Lily said between bites. "Watched who play?" "Jake and Ryan. They got to play the video games in the bonus room." "That sounds fun. Did you play too?" Silence. The kind of silence that says more than words. "The upstairs games are only for certain kids," Ryan finally said. He's only 1 year older than Lily. "I see," I said. "What about outside? It's such a nice day." "We went to the backyard for a little bit," Amanda said, finally looking up from her phone. "But you know how it is with different kids, some like different activities." Different activities. The words hung in the air with a meaning I was starting to understand. "Different activities?" I asked. "Oh, you know," my mom jumped in quickly. "Some children are more outgoing and some are more shy. Different personalities need different things." But Emma was the most outgoing kid in her whole class, and Lily loved playing outside. They were only quiet when they felt unwanted. "Well, I'm sure next time everyone can play together once you all get to know each other better," I said. Another uncomfortable silence. "Actually," Amanda said, putting her phone down, "we might be really busy the next few weekends. Summer is coming and we have lots of plans." Plans that apparently didn't include my daughters. "Like what?" I asked. "Pool parties, cookouts, neighborhood events, lots of social things." "That sounds great. The girls love swimming and cookouts." My dad cleared his throat. "Well, some of these events are for specific people. Longtime neighbors and their families. People who fit in with the group." "Fit in?" I asked, feeling my stomach drop. "What does that mean?" "It means," my mother said carefully, "that some events are for families that belong to certain circles. Families with 2 parents, stable homes, that sort of thing." There it was, said out loud. My daughters weren't welcome because I was divorced, because their father left us, because we weren't a complete family in my parents' eyes. "How long has this been happening?" I asked quietly. "What do you mean?" Amanda asked, but her guilty face showed she knew exactly what I meant. "How long have you been deciding what my daughters can and can't do based on the fact that I'm divorced?" "Rachel, you're misunderstanding," my dad said. "We're just being realistic about social situations." Realistic. Like accepting that my 7 and 10-year-old daughters should be excluded was just common sense. "Have you been telling people not to invite my girls to things?" "It's not like that," my mother said with a sigh. "But people do talk. They ask questions about broken homes and whether children from divorces have problems. We're just trying to help you avoid awkward situations." Help me by making sure my daughters knew they were less than their cousins. By teaching them to expect nothing and be grateful for scraps. "Mommy, can we go home now?" Emma asked quietly. The sadness in her voice broke my heart. My 7-year-old shouldn't sound like she expected to be disappointed everywhere she went. "Yes, baby, we're leaving very soon," I said, helping her finish her pizza. "Rachel, don't be dramatic," my mother said. "We're just trying to help the girls understand how life works. Better they learn now than get hurt later." Learn now. Like teaching children to accept less was doing them a favor. "And you think their grandmother's house should be where they learn they're not wanted?" I asked. "That's not what we're saying," Amanda protested. Then what are you saying? Because it sounds like you're telling me my daughters should get used to being treated worse than Jake and Ryan because their dad left. It's not about being worse, my mother said. It's about being realistic. Amanda's boys have a father who provides. They come from a stable home. That matters in social situations. Stable home. Like my working 2 jobs to keep my daughters fed and clothed meant nothing. Like love and effort didn't count if there wasn't a man in the house. I looked at Lily and Emma, who were listening to every word. They were learning right now what their own family thought of them. Not granddaughters to be treasured, but problems to be managed and hidden. Come on, girls, get your backpacks, I said. Rachel, don't leave angry, my mother begged. We can talk about this like adults. Talk about what? About how you think my children deserve to eat sandwiches on the floor while their cousins get pizza at the table. About how you think it's okay to exclude them from family events because I'm divorced. The room went silent. Even Jake and Ryan stopped eating. We love those girls, my mother said weakly. Do you? When's the last time you went to Emma's dance recital? When's the last time you asked about Lily's science project? When's the last time you called just to talk to them instead of asking me to pay for something? They couldn't answer because we all knew the truth. Their relationship with my daughters had always been less important than their relationship with my wallet. This is ridiculous, Amanda said, standing up. You're acting like we're monsters because we're honest about life. I'm acting like a mother whose children are being treated as less important than their cousins by their own family. Nobody said they were less important, my dad argued. You just spent 20 minutes explaining why they can't do the same things as Jake and Ryan. How is that not treating them as less important? I helped my girls collect their things, my hands shaking with controlled anger. Where are you going? Amanda demanded. Home to people who think my daughters deserve the same treatment as everyone else. The car ride home was heavy with questions nobody wanted to ask. I kept looking in the mirror at my girls, both staring out the windows. Finally, Emma spoke. Mom, why can't we go to the pool parties? I had been afraid of this question. Because some people aren't ready to welcome everyone yet, sweetheart. Because we don't have a dad like Jake and Ryan do. Her words hit me like a truck. She already understood more than I wanted her to. Yes, honey. Some people think families need to look a certain way. Lily, my older daughter, asked, Is it because Dad left us? No, baby. What your dad did was his choice. It has nothing to do with who you are. But Grandma and Grandpa think we're different because of it. Yes, they do, and that's wrong of them. I pulled into our apartment parking lot and turned off the car. Does Dad know that Grandma and Grandpa don't like us? Emma asked. Your dad knows that some people in the world might treat you unfairly. That's why Mom works so hard to make sure you know how special and important and loved you are. But Grandma and Grandpa are supposed to love us too, Emma said. Yes, they are. Do they? I sat in the car looking at my beautiful daughters who were asking questions no child should ever have to ask. I didn't have a good answer. My best friend Maria was at our apartment when we got inside. She took one look at my face and knew something bad had happened. Rough afternoon, she asked carefully. We need to talk after the girls go to bed, I said. But Lily, with the brutal honesty that kids have, walked straight to Maria and said, Grandma says we can't go to neighborhood parties because we don't have a dad and people think that's weird. Maria's coffee cup stopped halfway to her mouth. Did she say that exactly? She said they needed to prepare us for reality because some families don't fit in, I explained. Maria set her cup down carefully. And your mom agreed with this. She said it was about helping them understand social situations, by excluding them from social situations. Exactly. Maria knelt down to the girls' level. How do you two feel about what they said? Confused, Lily said. We didn't do anything wrong. Mad, Emma added. It's not fair. You're both absolutely right. You didn't do anything wrong and it's not fair. And you know what? When people treat you unfairly, that tells you something important about them, not about you. After the girls went to their room, Maria and I talked about everything. How long have you known? I asked. Known what? That my family treats my kids different from Amanda's kids. Maria was quiet for a moment. I've suspected for about 2 years, but I hoped I was wrong. I thought maybe after they saw how amazing Lily and Emma are, things would change. Why didn't you tell me? Because I know how much you love your family. And because I kept thinking maybe if you just kept being the good daughter, they'd come around. I thought about all the times Maria had gently tried to point things out. The comments about how my family never came to the girls' school events. The questions about why Amanda always had plans when I needed help. Rachel, Maria said gently, this isn't new. It's just more obvious now that the girls are old enough to notice. What do you mean? I mean, your mother once asked me if I thought you'd ever remarry someone who could properly provide for the girls. Your father told me he worried that growing up without a father would damage them. Amanda once said she felt bad that Lily and Emma would always struggle socially because of your divorce. Each word felt like a small betrayal. When did she say that? At Emma's 6th birthday party. She framed it like she was being concerned and caring. I stared at Maria, understanding how much she'd been protecting me from, how much casual judgment she'd absorbed without complaint. I should have seen it, I said. You saw what you needed to see to keep loving them. There's nothing wrong with that. But now that the girls are old enough to see it too, you have to make different choices. What kind of choices? Maria took my hand. You have to decide if you're going to keep exposing your daughters to people who think they're less worthy because their dad left. That's the real question. The answer should have been obvious. But it meant accepting that the family I'd been supporting for years had been systematically teaching my children they were worthless. There's something else, I said. I need to figure out exactly how much money I've given them. I pulled out my laptop and opened my bank account, something I'd been avoiding because I preferred not to think about money flowing out. Rachel, Maria said, looking over my shoulder, this is a lot of money. The last 3 years showed $38,000 in transfers. Rent help, car repairs, medical bills, emergency loans, home repairs. Going back further showed the same pattern, just with smaller amounts. Over 9 years, the total made me feel sick. They've been living partially on your income, Maria said quietly, while treating your children like they're worth less than Amanda's. I closed the laptop and looked at my friend. What should I do? Maria was quiet for a long time. I think you need to protect your family, your real family, the girls and you. What does that look like? It looks like boundaries. It looks like choosing people who actually love and respect all three of you. And it looks like teaching your girls that they don't have to accept less from anyone, including family. I nodded, feeling something change inside me. The desperate need to keep family peace was being replaced by a stronger need to protect my daughters from people who saw them as embarrassments. I think, I said slowly, it's time my family learned what happens when you take someone for granted. Maria smiled, but it was a serious smile. What are you thinking? I'm thinking they're about to discover what life looks like without my money. The next morning, I called my bank. I need to stop all automatic transfers to my family members, I told them. Within an hour, everything was canceled. The rent help, the car payment contributions, the emergency fund, all of it stopped. Then I called my parents' landlord. They had been late on rent 3 times, and I had covered it each time. I'm calling to let you know I will no longer be making payments on their behalf. That evening, my dad called. Rachel, sweetheart, there seems to be a problem. The rent money didn't transfer. There's no problem, Dad. What do you mean? I mean I canceled all the transfers. Silence. Can you explain why? Because I'm done paying people who think my daughters should eat sandwiches on the floor while their cousins eat pizza at the table. Rachel, if this is about that conversation. Dad, I heard exactly what was said. Mom said divorced families don't fit in. You agreed my girls need to learn their place. Amanda said they should get used to less. More silence. We can talk about this, work something out. What's to work out? Either you think my daughters deserve the same love as Jake and Ryan, or you don't. Of course we do. Then prove it. Start treating them that way. Stop excluding them. Stop teaching them they're less than. You can't just cut us off, my dad said. I can, and I am. You have 60 days to figure out how to live on your actual income. No more rent help. No more emergency loans. None of it. Rachel, please. If you can prove you genuinely want my daughters in your lives, not my money but my actual children, then maybe we can rebuild something. But the days of me paying people to tolerate my family are over. 6 months later, things had changed completely. My parents had to move to a cheaper place. Amanda had to get a full-time job. The comfortable life I'd been funding was gone, but something else happened too. They started showing up differently, really differently. My dad came to Emma's dance recital. My mom asked about Lily's science fair project. Amanda invited my girls to play with her boys, really play, not just watch. It wasn't perfect. Years of learned behavior don't disappear overnight. but it was real change. As I watched my daughters laugh with their grandparents at a restaurant where everyone paid their own way, Emma asked me, "Mom, are things different now?" "What do you think, sweetheart?" "I think they're trying to love us for real this time." And you know what? She was right. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to pay for behavior that hurts the people you love most. If this story meant something to you, hit that like button and subscribe to Glow Girl Revenge for more stories about protecting your family and knowing your worth.